The first time was in 1980, when we had the very first Capitol Steps event with Governor Ronald Reagan in September of 1980. And we had 5 major themes, and we got all the House and Senate candidates to come in. And it worked well enough that we won 6 U.S. Senate races by a combined margin of 75,000 votes. Mac Mattingly in Georgia was one. So in '94, we did the Contract with America, which was totally positive. I try to remind people, as late as 2 weeks before the election, the 2 leading election analysts in Washington said the most we could gain was 26 seats. They were off by 100%. We gained 53. And 1994 is the largest one-party increase in American history. We gained 9 million votes, and the Democrats lost 1 million votes. And I think it's because people were hungry for something positive. So when I began thinking about running for president this year, I tried to take everything I've learned since I started studying politics and government in August of 1958, and everything I'd learned in 20 years in the Congress, and everything I learned in 6 years of advising the Bush administration. And what struck me was that we were in much more trouble than we were in 1980 or 1994. That the problems are much deeper, and that you had to go back and look at Reagan and then look at me and say, so what is it they didn't do right? Because while we got temporary changes that were pretty big, we didn't get a permanent underlying change. The system of the elites that was established in '32 by FDR is still basically there. And what I concluded was that you actually needed a 4-part contract. The first part is the legislative program, which I don't know if you, I guess you've downloaded it, so you know. So and that's what I really unveiled in Des Moines last week. The second part is we're calling on the first day, and it's the notion that shortly after the inaugural address, I will take an hour to an hour and a half, and I'll sign between 50 and 200 executive orders, which will be designed to shift the government in a more conservative direction literally that day. So the very first executive order, for example, will abolish the White House czars. So there'll be the White House czars. The White House czars will be gone about 3:45 or 4 o'clock that day. The third part of the contract is going to be a training program for all presidential appointees. You know, if you think about it, football teams go to summer camp, college teams go to spring camp. I mean, even to do something like play a football game, people assume you need some training. We want to fundamentally reshape the federal government. We're not going to do it by bringing in well-meaning people who don't understand what we're doing, don't understand how we're going to do it. So we're going to build a serious training program that people will go through in order to get appointments in the Gingrich administration. And then finally, I tell everybody that I do not ask anyone to be for me, because if they're for me, they'll vote and go home. And they'll say, I sure hope Newt fixes it. I'm asking people to sign up to be with me for 8 years, because we will need them side by side with us to bring pressure to bear on the Congress, on the governor, on the state legislatures, on the city council, county commission, school board. And in addition, if you're going to shrink, think of it this way, if you shrink the Washington bureaucracy under the 10th Amendment, you need to grow local citizenship. So if we send more power back to Gwinnett County, local citizens actually have a bigger challenge of being effective citizens. It's a very fundamental decision about how you want to run America and what it means to be a citizen. Carry the Congress, you had better carry the country. Where Obama went wrong, starting with the stimulus is, you know, he had a wonderful opportunity to build a citizen movement. I mean, he had more volunteers than anybody in history. He was using the internet very intelligently. And if he had stuck to that after the election, he would really have had an extraordinary system. But he didn't want to listen. Because the first thing the American people want from you is they want openness and they want transparency. They want to know. Well, they wrote a stimulus package that was so secret that not a single elected member of the House or Senate read it. Well, that's the opposite of transparency. They wrote Obamacare so secretly that Speaker Pelosi said you have to pass it to figure out what's in it. You know, I mean, those things don't make any sense. People know we're in trouble. I ask every audience, how many of you think we're seriously on the wrong track? Every hand is up. I ask them, how many of you think it's going to be really hard to get back on the right track? Every hand goes up. I then say, how many of you think the elites are going to fight very hard to stop us after the election? Every hand goes up. So people are sitting at home going, you know, this is real. This is not a game. And it's almost like the ox is in the ditch and some of the guys are throwing snowballs at each other. And you're trying to say, guys, help get the ox out of the ditch. And I think, I just say that generically. It's not about any one candidate or any one person. I think it is a better policy in a dangerous time. It is better to be positive, and it's better to worry about the country than to worry about your candidacy. We're going to be in for about 3.5 or 4 months of chaos. I mean, Florida's kind of guaranteed. And so it is just going to be wild and woolly. And I, you know, personally, I think that's kind of fun. It'll be interesting.